Alright, so this is not a sponsored video, but an honest tool review. And this is probably my second different one-man bleeding operation. I've tried one other one and it was just horrible. So I got this one and it works really, really well. So how it works is you put your air hose from your compressor onto this guy, and it basically blows in here, and as it passes, as the air velocity goes across this container, it draws a vacuum inside the container. So with this valve, as you open it, it speeds up the suction inside this can. So basically it's a common misconception that this is actually doing anything but adding vacuum. So once it's under a vacuum, as much vacuum as it can create inside this container, you can leave this shut, and all you have to do is open the bleeder. So I'll demonstrate. It's got on the end of this hose right here, which comes out of here, this fits on most bleeder screws. However, this one is really small and you can't put this on. Usually I put the wrench on before and put this on there, but what I'm going to do is remove the wrench, use the open end of the wrench so I can get this fitting on here as tight as possible to minimize the amount of brake fluid leaking everywhere. So this is a two-hand job, so let me move this, put this camera up where you can see it. Hopefully you guys can see that. I lost my rag. One second. All right. So get this guy set up. Get the suction going. And I'm running about a 90 to 100 psi air pressure. It's not real critical for this type of thing, but like I said, the bleeder screws are a little too small for this fitting. This usually works on everything, but in this case the bleeder screws are too small, probably because the caliper is too small. But we're going to give it a shot. Okay, so I'm going to use the open end on this guy. And actually, what I can do is get this thing charged up with suction. I just let my finger stay on here just to let it build suction faster. Doesn't need to be open all the way. So now I've got plenty of suction. So no one in the house to help bleed the brakes, so I'm just going to go ahead and send it. But as you can see, or you can hear, there's no leaks really. So here we go. And let that pull a little bit. Starting to see some fluid. As soon as the fluid becomes like a steady stream out of here, as you can see, it's kind of peaking a little bit off and on. That means air bubble, or air bubbles. Once that kind of calms down, to give it one big burst. That should be plenty. The key here is not to waste a bunch of brake fluid if you don't have to. Let it charge up a little more. So the bleeding screw is closed now. You hear it kind of building more suction. Close it off. Alright, second bleed. Here we go. Make sure my suction is up. And you can feel the suction getting strong with your finger over the tips of it. You actually can definitely feel the suction there. If you have it. Alright. There we go. That's a much better stream. Okay. Just gonna keep adding suction as you go. And the fluid is getting much more uniform as it comes out, which tells me that we're really close to being done. In fact, we probably have a pedal now. But I want to do the other side, obviously, and then make sure I'm going to do one more on this side. Wait for that compressor to kick off. One more. And when this doesn't fit right, I'm still feeling air bubbles, but the air bubbles are most likely coming from my connection here. And because this fitting doesn't fit tightly over the end of the bleeder screw, that's most likely where my air is coming from. So it's not air in the line is what I'm getting at, most likely. But I think we're good on this side. Make sure my bleeder screw is tight. And let's move over there. Make sure you wipe the brake fluid off of everything. Trust me, even powder coating, just because it's the right thing to do. And if you're not sure, always douse it with water. If you have just regular painted surfaces or anything where you're just not sure where it went, spray it down with water and you don't have to worry about it. As long as there's not more brake fluid coming out of there, the water technique is probably the best technique, because the water actually gets where you can't see, and you know, for obvious reasons, that's why I recommend that. There's nothing worse than going inside and coming out the next day and seeing your paint all bubbled up because you forgot a drip of brake fluid somewhere. Oh, such a heartbreak. So let me get set up. I'm going to go over to the passenger front, which is probably where I should have started, but it's fine. And the reason I say that is because you want to start with the longest line first when you're bleeding brakes. So we did that. We actually started with the passenger rear brake, or drum in this case, first, and that draws most or all of the fluid out of the system. Typically the first time. Like a lot of times I've had pedal after just doing that one brake. So it does a lot, and you have a squishy pedal because there's air in the lines. That's what you're feeling. Obviously liquid does not compress. So all right, let me get set up on the other side. All right, so, ow, gosh, dude, that's 2 Mondays in a row I've hit my head. I hope you guys are enjoying that. Okay, bang, here we go. So I'm gonna get my suction back up again. we go, first one. There we go. So, nothing right away. Get some suction going, a little more. Stream. Pretty slow stream of fluid coming out. And again, you're looking for a steady flow of brake fluid coming out of here. Nothing like spurting. Spurting is bad. That means there's air trapped in there. And in this case, it's kind of hard to tell. Which is why I'm doing it like 3 or 4 times. But you can see now, it's going to pull through. And it's pretty steady all the way. Okay. Alright. Topping off suction. There we go. That's pretty steady now. I think we're good. One more for good measure. If you go too many times, you're really just throwing brake fluid away, so I try not to do that. This brake fluid's kind of expensive. It's the Maxima stuff. I have more, but there's just no sense in throwing good brake fluid away. The better the brake fluid, the more heat it can absorb and stay viscous over time. So if you buy lower quality stuff, it may not take as many heat cycles as opposed to like a higher end brake fluid. I'm not trying to tell you to go out and buy Formula One brake fluid, but I am telling you that quality does count with brake fluid, just like engine oil. There we go. Yeah, we got a good steady flow there. All right. And just raise up your hose and get it all to drain. And we're good. Make sure your bleeder screws are tight. These are tight. I didn't do the top inside, but I've already done that, so. All right, let's see if we have pedal. All right, guys, so I'm working on the charger, and I've been asked a lot about how to make a hole through your carpet, and I'm going to show you how we do it. I don't think there's a better way, unless somebody out there. I've heard Unibits work, but I've also seen them tear threads and make a run, which is not something you want. Obviously, just cutting with the razor blade. If you're going to use a razor blade, I would suggest doing it in an X cut and then try to cut out the center ones. But what I'm going to show you is a lot easier to do, and all it requires is a cheapo soldering iron, which these only serve one purpose in this shop, as what I'm about to show you. So these things don't work to solder. Not sure, maybe they do when they're brand new, but it seems like when they get older they just stop working. So but let me get you guys set up here and I'll show you. So you need a cheapo soldering iron and a scratch awl. For those of you who don't know, it's this long, kind of looks like a screwdriver. It comes in a lot of screwdriver sets from Craftsman, but this is actually a scratch awl. It's meant to scratch metal and make a mark, with wood too. So get this going here so I can show you guys. It's already been on, so this is just another plug-in. So this thing's been on fire for a while now. So let's set that down, make sure it doesn't burn anything important. Come on. Okay, so first thing, you gotta locate your holes on the bottom side of the car. That's the easiest place to go. And you want to make sure you roll your carpet out, like from the center, and just kind of push down, and then go over the contours as tight as you can, and then pull back towards you, and kind of, you can, on a B body there's the outer rocker, on the inner outer rocker, or sorry, the inner rocker has a support brace for the seats specifically, and you want to try to find that on the bottom and make sure you don't poke your finger, but you put the scratch awl through that hole in the carpet, and obviously you want to make sure your insulation's in. You just push it all the way up and then it stays. So now you've got your scratch awl poking through there. And again, you want to make sure your soldering iron is good and hot. And then you take the awl, as you take the awl out, slowly you kind of follow it down so you can kind of see where it went. And then you just put your soldering iron through that hole, and then you twist it. And you want it to basically burn around the whole entire hole. So the body of the soldering iron, you want to just keep twisting it until you get through all of the carpet material. And you don't need to go through the juke padding. It's not that important. And juke padding a lot of times will have fire retardant stuff in it, so it won't burn, in other words, unless it's really hot. But yeah, this iron got a little cooled off, so I'm gonna let it sit here for a sec. But that's really the gist. But yeah, I've never had a run like this, and as you can see, these seat brackets actually have a post. It's welded to the bottom of the seat frame, so all you have to do is put a nut on it and then tighten it up, so there's no bolt to actually have to manage tightening. So there's that. Okay, now you can see you have a nice cauterized hole right there, and you can kind of see how it all gets cauterized, I guess is the best word for it. But yeah, that's our and I don't think I may have X'd my my Thermatec stuff before this, but you really don't need to. This hot iron will go right through it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and use it, and make sure you let your soldering iron burn off, otherwise you'll have to smell it later. Wipe it with a hot towel, wipe it with a wet towel, and it will typically take everything off of it. So hope you guys like that. Let me know what you think. If you have a better suggestion, I'd love to